today? Hey, the fly we're going to do today is, this fly is probably my #3 producer. I've had 100 fish days on this fly. It's an incredibly good fly. I fish it during trico hatches, and we fish it in midge hatches. It's a good one. It's called a Black Humpy. Doesn't look like any Black Humpy you've ever seen before. So let's take a look at that fly, and this is kind of what we're looking for. Just note a couple things about this fly. There's no wing. There's no wing, so they're very hard to tie. There's no hair, as in the conventional humpies. This is tied again, and you know I'm big in foam, and this is a surgical foam, and then it has a polypropylene tail. I guarantee if you use this fly under the conditions that we just talked about, you're going to be really surprised. You're going to like it a lot. I mean, you can tie this in other sizes, other colors, so, you know, feel free to experiment with it. And, you know, give me a comment if you want to see it like in a bigger size or whatnot, and we can do that too. But anyway, let's get started. This is a good one. Let's take a look at the materials that we're going to use today. Right off the get-go, this is a surgical foam. And note how thin this foam is. I'm going to peel that back for you. It's adhesive on one side. You can buy this at surgical places. Medical supplies would have it. It's very, very thin. I don't know what millimeter that would be, but it's way thinner than like the 2 millimeter, which I used to tie this humpy in, and believe me, it was tough with this. And then I just cut it with a razor blade, lay it flat on a piece of table, very similar to that, lay an edge along it. This is about the size that we want right here. So that's one of the things we're going to use right there, and I mean, there's a lot of it on there. Again, it's polypropylene. This is white. You could use Antron yarn here, would be just fine. And then I'm going to show you a little trick with this that I do, and when we get to that step, I'll explain what we're doing there. This is black polypropylene. Again, you could use black Antron, you could dub, doesn't matter. This is grizzly hackle saddle again. Feather there. Let's look at the tools we got. Again, we got 6/0 thread. I prefer to do this in 8/0 thread. Let me switch spools. I grabbed the wrong one. Here we go. This is an 8/0. And it's easier on this small fly because there's a tendency in this fly to crowd the head, so that 8/0 is a better way to roll. And this is Unithread, where that other one was a Danville product. This is a Canadian product called Unithread, and it's good. We're going to use that again. We already used that, and the scissors. With that, let's get started. Again, it's hard to pick up these hooks sometimes, so you can slide them to the edge, but I got it on that grab, so that'll work. So we're going to set it in that vise again. Keep that point back out of the way. This is a size 16 dry fly. Now, for you, those of you folks that have fished both midges and tricos, this is maybe almost 3 times bigger than that size. But believe me, this is the size that you want. I do tie this in 18s too, but mostly I tie it in 16s, and it works very, very well. You can cheat on the size, and it makes it a lot easier to tie, believe me. These 60-year-old 8L dyes don't do well with 20s and 22s and 24s. I don't want any part of it. This works, and it'll work well. So let's get started. So again, we're going to build that base. Just like that, right to the bend of the hook. Come in there, trim that off. Okay. Now, I tie this with a polypropylene tail. I used to tie it with a hair tail. Now that's too much, so we can just split that. See, I'm just splitting that with my fingers. That looks about right, just like that. Again, we got our brush. We're just going to give it a little brush, just like that. Come in there, we're going to cut that end off, just like that. Now, we're going to lay that in there just about where the hackle starts. Again, this way we get a nice uniform body. Okay, right on top, pulled out. There we go. Just like that. That slides, that's okay. Just slide it in its place. Okay, nice and tight on that. Gonna bring that thread back. Okay. Now the one key mistake here is that you can cut it long and you're okay. If you cut it short, you're gonna be in trouble. So that's about the length we want right there. Just like that, nice, okay. Now, we're gonna come in here with this, this surgical foam. And remember, one side of that is adhesive and the other side is not. So we want the adhesive side up, okay? See, a little wide right there, let's go just like that. So we're gonna go in there just like that. Whoop, let me go back here and show you one thing here. Rather than build up that body with thread, which is normally what you do when you tie a humpy, we're going to go in there with, again, it's a thinned out piece of polypropylene. Basically, I just split that, just like that. I'll just use that piece, that'll work. Trim off that tag. And this is a time saver. So we're just going to set that right in there, just like that. And I'm going to tie that at the back, like that. Now I'm going to bring that thread forward. Now we're going to go in there with that with that surgical foam. Again, adhesive side up. I'm going to leave myself some room. This is where it gets tricky with this fly. I'm going to leave myself some room at the head, at the head of the fly, at the eye. Now I'm going to bring that back just like that. Okay. Now, with the conventional humpy, what you would do is you would build up this body with this thread, which is a lot of work, and I just like to go like this. And you could use Antron for this. You could use any kind of a yarn, just something that's a lot easier than going through there and trying to cover all of that so that it comes out black. So just like that. And additionally, this will give it more flotation, which this fly floats really well, so that's usually not an issue. Okay? So we're going to go in there just like that. That's about the length that we want. We don't want to crowd that head. Come in there just like that. Now I'm going to stretch that just a tiny bit, not a huge amount, just a tiny bit so that I have a little bit of base for that hackle to go on. Now I'm going to cover all of this. Just like that. Okay. Now, again, notice how I'm not trying to just pick that up. It's hard to pick up. I'm just going to slide that to the edge of the table, pick it up like that. Again, it's a dry fly, so dull side up. So I'm just going to strip out a tag. Then we're just going to set that right at the start. Either, let's just do it at the end of the foam, just like that. And it's much easier to wrap hackle if you don't use hackle pliers, if you just use your fingers. So just like that. And we're just going to come in there just like that. Okay, you got to be careful here when you trim this that you don't cut hackle that you want. Okay. Now you're going to come in there with the hackle pliers. Excuse me. Got the grip finisher. Come in there just like that. And it's a little trickier here. You got to just get it right in that edge, right at the eye of the hook, just like that. Again, come in from the side. Don't try to come in, or you could cut hackle, just like that. One little tag right there. Little head cement. Good. So that should give us a nice profile on that fly. Again, you're going to be really surprised how well this works on a trico hatch or midge. They take it like kind of like a midge cluster. It's a very good fly. Learn to tie it, practice it a little bit. little smaller, so it's a little tougher to tie. If you like this fly, we'd love a thumbs up. I appreciate you watching the video. We surely ask you to subscribe, and hoping to see you for the next one. Give them hell.